Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." The same is true for attraction. Women aren't drawn to money, looks, or status alone. What truly makes a man irresistible is his mindset, his presence, and his personality. Stoic men mastered this long ago, becoming the kind of men that others respected and women desired. If you embody these 7 personality traits, you won't need tricks, gimmicks, or games. Women will naturally gravitate toward you. But miss even one, and you'll always wonder why attraction feels like a struggle. Watch until the end, because each trait builds on the next. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's get into it. Chapter 1: Unshakable Confidence. Confidence isn't just about how you stand or speak, it's about how you exist in the world. A man with unshakable confidence isn't looking for validation because he already knows his worth. He doesn't beg for attention, he commands it by the way he carries himself, by the way he speaks, by the way he looks at the world as if he owns his space in it. This kind of confidence isn't loud or flashy, it's deeply rooted in a sense of self that no external force can shake. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to confidence. It signals strength, security, and certainty. When a man is comfortable in his own skin, he creates a magnetic pull that women can't resist. They might not even understand why, they just feel it. It's a primal response, something hardwired into human nature. When a man walks into a room and carries himself with a sense of ease, an air of control, people notice. Women notice. They sense his energy before he even speaks. It's not just about posture or body language, it's the energy he emits. It's the way he makes people feel simply by existing in a space with certainty. But real confidence isn't arrogance. It's not about boasting or acting superior. It's about moving through the world with a quiet certainty, knowing that whatever happens, you can handle it. You don't need approval. You don't need to prove anything. You just are. And that's powerful. There's nothing more magnetic than a man who doesn't seek validation because he validates himself. He doesn't need permission to take up space, to speak his mind, to be who he is. And that level of self-assuredness makes people lean in. Consider the Stoics. They embodied this principle. They didn't waste time worrying about what others thought of them. They focused on their own discipline, their own self-mastery. They didn't chase, they attracted. And that's the foundation of being truly irresistible. A man who is sure of himself, who walks with purpose, who isn't easily rattled, this is the kind of man who draws admiration and respect effortlessly. True confidence isn't about pretending or putting on a show. It's about doing the internal work to genuinely believe in yourself. And that doesn't happen overnight. It comes from discipline, from taking control of your life, from mastering your emotions, your thoughts, your actions. It's about knowing your strengths and embracing your weaknesses. It's about being so secure in yourself that you don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. And that's when people start noticing you in a different way. A confident man doesn't seek validation in relationships. He doesn't need a woman's attention to feel worthy. He doesn't need to be constantly reassured. Instead, he operates from a place of abundance, knowing that his value isn't determined by external factors. And this makes him incredibly attractive. Women are drawn to men who don't need them but choose them. There's a difference. When a man is secure in himself, his presence is a gift, not a plea for attention. But how does one develop unshakable confidence? It starts with self-discipline. A man who controls himself, who masters his mind, who takes responsibility for his actions, this is a man who radiates confidence. He doesn't need to prove himself to anyone because his actions speak for themselves. He stands firm in his beliefs. He is not easily swayed by opinions or trends. He knows his values and lives by them. It also comes from embracing failure. A confident man understands that failure is not a reflection of his worth, but a stepping stone to success. He doesn't let setbacks shake him because he knows he can handle anything. He sees obstacles as opportunities for growth. And this resilience, this ability to rise again and again, is what makes him truly powerful. Confidence is also built through competence. The more skilled you become, the more you trust yourself. A man who invests in his own growth, whether it's through learning, fitness, career, or mindset, develops an unshakable belief in his own abilities. When you know you can rely on yourself, you walk differently. You talk differently. You exude a quiet, undeniable strength. Lastly, confidence is about presence. A confident man doesn't live in his head, overanalyzing every interaction. He is present. He listens. He observes. He engages with the world around him fully. And this presence makes people gravitate toward him. When you're genuinely engaged in the moment, people feel it. They feel heard. They feel seen. And that's powerful. At the end of the day, unshakable confidence isn't something you fake, it's something you become. It's not about impressing others. It's about being so secure in yourself that you naturally attract the right energy into your life. The world respects a man who respects himself. And that's the ultimate key to being irresistibly attractive. Chapter 2: Emotional Control. A man who cannot control his emotions is a man who cannot control his life. This isn't just about avoiding outbursts or hiding feelings, it's about mastering yourself so completely that external events, other people, and even your own impulses do not dictate your actions. Women are drawn to men who remain calm under pressure, men who don't panic when things go wrong, who don't lash out when they're frustrated, and who don't crumble under stress. Why? Because emotional stability is power. A man who can hold his ground in the face of chaos, who can maintain composure no matter what life throws at him, radiates an unshakable presence. Think about the moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. You lose a job. You get betrayed by a friend. A woman rejects you. Do you react emotionally? Do you get defensive, lash out, or shut down? Or do you stand firm, unaffected by the storm? A man with emotional control moves through life with an aura of confidence that cannot be broken. He doesn't allow anger, fear, or insecurity to run his mind. He remains steady, logical, and focused even when the world tries to shake him. And women instinctively recognize this as dominance, as strength, as something rare. Because most men fail here. Most men react instead of responding. They let their emotions take over. They argue, they over-explain, they seek validation, they beg for approval. If something doesn't go their way, they lose control, they get aggressive, desperate, or weak. And when a man loses control, he loses respect. Women do not trust men who are emotionally unstable. A man who throws a tantrum over small inconveniences, who gets jealous over minor things, who breaks down every time life gets tough, this is the type of man who repels high-value women. Because a woman knows that if she can shake a man emotionally, then life can break him even faster. And no woman wants to attach herself to a man who is easily broken. But the man who has mastered himself? He's the one women admire, respect, and desire. Why? Because he is solid. He doesn't seek reassurance from others, he is his own reassurance. He doesn't get thrown off course by rejection or setbacks, he sees them as part of the game. And most importantly, he knows that his emotions are his responsibility. This is what the Stoics understood. They trained themselves every day to detach from things outside of their control. They refuse to let anger, fear, or pleasure dominate them. They practiced maintaining their composure, even in the worst of situations. And in doing so, they became the kind of men history remembers. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the pain you experience in life is self-inflicted. You let negative thoughts run wild. You dwell on problems that haven't happened yet. You let small inconveniences destroy your peace. And every time you give in to these emotions, you make yourself weaker. But a man who refuses to let emotions rule him, he becomes untouchable. When a woman tries to test him, he doesn't flinch. When life tries to break him, he doesn't fold. When others try to provoke him, he doesn't react because he chooses his responses. This kind of man is rare. And what is rare is irresistible. So, how do you develop emotional control? First, you must train yourself to pause before reacting. When you feel anger rising, when insecurity creeps in, when fear starts whispering in your ear, do nothing. Give yourself space. Breathe. Observe your emotions without acting on them. Second, you must stop taking things personally. Most of what happens to you has nothing to do with you. A woman rejecting you? That's her decision, not your worth. Someone criticizing you? That's their perspective, not your reality. Life knocking you down? That's the nature of existence, not an attack on you. Third, you must accept suffering as part of the journey. You will face hardships. You will experience losses. You will go through pain. The difference between a weak man and a strong one is how they handle it. The weak man crumbles. The strong man stands tall. When you master your emotions, you master your life. You become the kind of man who is respected, trusted, and desired. And the best part? Most men will never reach this level. But if you do, you won't have to chase women, money, or success. They will come to you. Chapter 3: A strong sense of purpose. A man without purpose is like a ship without a rudder, drifting, lost, and completely at the mercy of the tides. He goes wherever life pushes him, never taking control, never steering his own course. And here's the brutal truth: nothing repels a woman faster than a man with no direction. Why? Because purpose is what gives a man energy, drive, and focus. It makes him ambitious, disciplined, and relentless. It turns him into a force of nature, someone who creates his own destiny instead of waiting for life to hand him something. Look around. You'll see countless men who lack this fire. They waste hours scrolling through their phones, playing video games, or numbing themselves with distractions. They talk about their dreams, but never take real action. They exist in a state of stagnation, going to a job they don't care about, living for the weekend, waiting for something external to fix their lives. But here's the truth: nobody is coming to save you. If you don't carve out a purpose for yourself, the world will assign you one, and it will be something small, meaningless, and forgettable. Now, contrast this with a man who has a mission. Whether he's building a business, mastering a skill, or pushing his physical and mental limits, he moves differently. His time has value. His presence has weight. He's not looking for validation or approval because he's too busy creating something real. And here's what most men don't realize: women can feel this instinctively. They sense when a man is on a path, when he has something bigger than himself that he's dedicated to. And that makes him infinitely more attractive than the man who's just floating through life, waiting for something to happen. A man with purpose doesn't need a woman to fill a void in his life, because he doesn't have one. He's already fulfilled by the challenge he's pursuing. He's already alive in his mission. And that's, paradoxically, is exactly what draws women toward him. Why? Because women don't want to be your purpose. They want to join a man who already has won. This is where most men fail. They make the mistake of centering their entire lives around a woman, constantly texting, constantly available, constantly prioritizing her above everything else. They become clingy, needy, and predictable. And that kills attraction. A woman doesn't want to be worshipped. She wants to be inspired. She wants to feel like she's stepping into the world of a man who is going somewhere. And the key to this? Your purpose must always come first. That doesn't mean neglecting relationships. It means not sacrificing your mission for them. It means staying focused on your goals even when you're in love, even when you're tempted to get comfortable, even when the world tries to pull you away from your path. A man who lives this way, who walks with purpose, who builds something meaningful, who refuses to settle, doesn't have to chase women. They gravitate toward him. Because deep down, every woman wants to be part of a story that's bigger than herself. So, the question is simple: what are you building? Because if the answer is nothing, you're just another man drifting. And women don't chase men who drift, they chase men who lead. Chapter 4. A high standard for himself. Most men go through life settling. They settle for mediocrity, for bad habits, for comfort, for a version of themselves that is far beneath their true potential. And the worst part? They justify it. They tell themselves that things are good enough, that change is too difficult, that they can coast through life without pushing their limits. But here's the hard truth: women see this. They feel it. A man who lacks ambition, who is okay with being average, who doesn't demand more from himself, he becomes invisible. Not just to women, but to the world. He blends in. He disappears into the background. And deep down, he knows it. Now, think of the men who truly stand out. The ones who walk into a room and command attention without saying a word. They're not always the richest. They're not always the most physically attractive. But they all have one thing in common: they hold themselves to an unshakable standard. These men don't wait for motivation. They operate on discipline. They wake up early when others sleep in. They take care of their bodies when others let themselves go. They sharpen their minds instead of numbing them with distractions. They refuse to let life happen to them. They take control. And women love this. Not because they're impressed by the surface-level results, but because they can sense the deeper quality beneath it: self-mastery. A man who challenges himself, who refuses to settle, who relentlessly pushes forward, this is the kind of man who ignites attraction on a primal level. Why? Because a man with high standards for himself will naturally have high standards for everything in his life, including the women he allows into it. And this is rare. Most men make the mistake of chasing women first, thinking that attraction is something they need to earn from women rather than something they command through their own development. They pour their energy into learning tricks, memorizing pickup lines, trying to figure out women. But the men who actually have women gravitate toward them. They don't waste their time on tricks. They become men worth chasing. It's not about pretending to be high value. It's about being high value. This means living with intention. It means questioning your habits, your mindset, your environment. Are you surrounding yourself with people who push you to be better, or are you stuck in a cycle of mediocrity? Are you growing, learning, building something, or are you just passing time? A high-standard man doesn't make excuses. If he's out of shape, he fixes it. If his finances are a mess, he takes control. If his social skills are weak, he improves them. He never accepts his flaws as permanent, he works on them. And here's the kicker: the journey never ends. A man who holds himself to high standards isn't looking for a finish line. He's constantly evolving, constantly sharpening himself like a blade. This is why he naturally attracts women, success, and respect, because people can see the difference between a man who is growing and a man who is decaying. This is the foundation of Stoicism. The ancient Stoics believed that discipline equals freedom, that self-control leads to power. They understood that a man who masters himself masters life. And this mastery is what makes a man irresistible. Because in a world full of weak men, a man with standards stands alone. Chapter 5. The ability to walk away. Neediness is the ultimate attraction killer. It's the silent poison that seeps into a man's presence, stripping away his power and making him appear weak in the eyes of a woman. A man who clings, who constantly seeks validation, who dreads the idea of losing her, he's already lost. The moment she senses desperation, the moment she feels that he needs her more than he needs himself, the balance shifts. And once that balance shifts, attraction fades. But the man who can walk away is the one who commands attention, is the one who holds the power. Why? Because the ability to walk away signals abundance. It tells her you are not desperate, that you are not a man who will tolerate being taken for granted, and most importantly, that you see yourself as the prize. Women are instinctively drawn to men who have options, to men who carry themselves with the quiet confidence of knowing they could leave if the situation no longer serves them. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. And self-respect is intoxicating. A man who needs a woman will do anything to keep her. He'll accept disrespect, he'll chase even when he shouldn't, he'll compromise his own values just to maintain her approval. He becomes reactive, constantly adjusting his behavior based on what he thinks she wants rather than standing firm in his own identity. And women hate that. Not consciously, perhaps, but on a deep, primal level, they sense that something is off. They know that a man who is truly valuable wouldn't be bending over backward to keep someone who isn't equally invested. Contrast this with the man who knows his worth. The man who understands that he is the one choosing, not just being chosen. He never puts a woman on a pedestal, never makes her the sole source of his happiness, never falls into the trap of believing she is his only option. And because of this, he is free. A woman might test him, maybe she pulls away, maybe she tries to provoke a reaction, maybe she plays hard to get. The weak man panics. He chases. He overcompensates. He drowns her in attention, thinking that if he just shows her how much he cares, she'll come running back. But she won't. Instead, she'll pull back even more, repelled by the very neediness that drove him to chase in the first place. The strong man, on the other hand, does something radically different. He lets her go. If she starts acting indifferent, if she stops putting in effort, if she takes him for granted, he simply removes himself. Not as a manipulation tactic, not as a game, but because he refuses to stay where he isn't valued. And here's the paradox. The moment he does this, he becomes even more desirable. Suddenly, she sees him differently. She realizes he is not like the rest. He won't beg. He won't plead. He won't trade his dignity for a fleeting moment of approval. And that, more than anything, reignites her attraction. Women don't want to be worshipped, they want to earn a man's attention. They want to feel like they have something valuable in front of them, something they have to work to keep. When a man hands over his attention freely, without any standards or self-respect, he cheapens it. But when a man makes it clear that his presence is a privilege, something that must be deserved, he becomes unforgettable. This is the core of Stoicism applied to attraction. The Stoic man is never owned by his emotions. He feels, yes. He enjoys, yes. But he never clings. He understands that no one, no woman, no relationship should have control over his sense of self. He remains whole regardless of who stays or who leaves. And that's the ultimate test. If you can walk away at any moment, you will never have to. Because the man who can walk away is the man she doesn't want to lose. Chapter 6. The Power of Mystery. Predictability is boring. It's the fastest way to kill attraction. When a man is too easy to read, too available, or too eager to share every detail about himself, he removes any sense of challenge or intrigue. Women are naturally drawn to men who keep them guessing, men who have layers that aren't immediately obvious, who make them work a little to uncover who they truly are. But here's the key: mystery doesn't mean playing games. It's not about deception, manipulation, or pretending to be something you're not. It's about maintaining an element of the unknown, about letting her discover you piece by piece rather than dumping everything about yourself on the table at once. The most attractive men are those who reveal just enough to pique an interest, but never so much that the mystery is gone. Think about it. Why are people addicted to TV shows with great storylines? Because they want to know what happens next. If every twist and turn was revealed in the first episode, the show would become dull. The same principle applies to attraction. When a woman feels like she has already figured you out, she stops feeling excitement. The moment she thinks she knows exactly how you'll respond, exactly what you'll say, exactly what you'll do, it's over. But if you remain just a little bit unpredictable, if you have aspects of your life she doesn't fully understand, you create an irresistible pull. A truly magnetic man has his own world, his own passions, his own depth. He doesn't need to seek validation by oversharing or proving himself. He knows that his value is in his essence, not in how much he discloses. He has hobbies she doesn't fully grasp, interests she has to work to understand, a way of thinking that keeps her intrigued. Maybe he disappears for a few hours to work on something important to him. Maybe he doesn't text back immediately because he's fully engaged in his life. Maybe he shares stories in a way that hints at deeper experiences without explaining everything outright. The greatest seducers in history understood this. Casanova, for example, never gave women everything up front. He led them into his world slowly, letting them feel their way into his life rather than forcing information upon them. He built an aura of mystery that kept women captivated, always wanting to know more. So how do you cultivate this? Start by developing a life that's genuinely interesting. If you don't have layers, there's no mystery to reveal. Work on your skills, dive into passions that excite you, build an existence that doesn't revolve around her. When you do this, you won't have to try to be mysterious, it will happen naturally. Mystery also requires emotional control. A man who is constantly explaining himself, justifying his actions, or seeking approval loses his sense of enigma. Instead, practice restraint. Allow silence to be your ally. Let moments linger. Don't rush to fill every gap in conversation. When you hold back just enough, you create a dynamic where she leans in, where she wants to know more. When you're completely transparent from the start, you remove the excitement of discovery. A woman should feel like she's peeling back layers over time, not reading an open book in a single sitting. Another crucial element of mystery is independence. Women are drawn to men who have their own lives, who don't need them for fulfillment. A man who is busy with his own pursuits naturally exudes an air of intrigue. He isn't always available because he has things to do, goals to accomplish, and personal interests that occupy his time. This doesn't mean ignoring her or being distant on purpose. It means having a life so full that she has to work to be part of it. When she senses that you're not reliant on her for your happiness, she becomes more invested in understanding you. The way you communicate also plays a role. A mysterious man doesn't lay all his cards on the table immediately. He reveals information in a way that keeps her engaged. Instead of answering questions directly, he might provide a thought-provoking response that invites curiosity. He shares experiences and stories that hint at deeper layers without fully exposing them. He's not evasive, but he doesn't give everything away too soon. Consider the power of nonverbal cues. Sometimes it's not about what you say, but how you carry yourself. A man who maintains eye contact, who speaks with confidence but without oversharing, who uses pauses effectively, this man creates an aura of mystery without saying a word. Body language, tone, and presence all contribute to the overall impression you leave. When you master these elements, you make a lasting impact without needing to force anything. Another key aspect of maintaining mystery is unpredictability. A man who always does the same thing, responds in the same way, or follows a predictable pattern loses his intrigue. But when you introduce spontaneity, whether it's in the way you plan dates, how you respond to situations, or even how you engage in conversation, you keep her guessing. She never fully knows what's coming next, and that's exciting. Mystery also ties into the art of storytelling. People love a good story, and the best stories unfold over time. Instead of laying everything out at once, build anticipation. Allow experiences to be revealed gradually, letting her discover new aspects of you as she spends more time with you. This approach makes every interaction feel like an adventure rather than a routine exchange. Ultimately, the men who women can't stop thinking about aren't the ones who hand them everything on a silver platter. They're the ones who create anticipation, who make a woman feel like she's uncovering something special with each interaction. They leave an impression that lingers, making her eager to know more. And when she's intrigued, she's hooked. The key takeaway? Don't be an open book. Be a novel worth reading, one chapter at a time. The more you cultivate a life of depth, independence, and controlled revelation, the more magnetic you become. A man who understands the power of mystery doesn't need to chase, he naturally attracts. Chapter 7: Genuine Leadership. Attraction is deeply tied to leadership. Women don't just want a man who follows, they want a man who leads. But leadership isn't about barking orders, dominating conversations, or trying to control everything. True leadership is about presence, responsibility, and the ability to make decisions with certainty. Women are drawn to men who inspire confidence, men who know where they're going and take action to get there. A real leader doesn't need to prove his dominance with words, his actions speak for him. He carries himself with quiet authority, he listens more than he talks, and he makes decisions based on logic and wisdom rather than impulse. He doesn't complain about his circumstances or blame others for his failures. Instead, he owns his choices, learns from mistakes, and moves forward with purpose. This kind of man is rare, and that's exactly why women find him so captivating. Leadership isn't just about taking charge in a relationship, it's about taking charge of your own life. A leader sets high standards for himself. He doesn't just drift through life waiting for things to happen, he makes things happen. He has a clear vision for his future, and he doesn't waver when obstacles appear. When a man is truly in control of himself and his path, a woman can feel it. She doesn't have to question whether he's capable of handling life's challenges because he proves it through his actions. Women instinctively test men to see if they possess this leadership quality. If a man is indecisive, unsure of himself, or constantly seeking approval, she will lose attraction. She might not even realize why, she just feels that something is missing. But when a man stands firm in his beliefs, makes decisions without fear, and moves with conviction, she will naturally respect him. And respect is the foundation of deep, lasting attraction. One of the biggest misconceptions about leadership is that it requires wealth, status, or power. It doesn't. Leadership is about mindset. A broke man with strong principles and direction will always be more attractive than a rich man who is weak-willed and lost. Money can buy attention, but it can't buy genuine respect. And without respect, there is no real attraction. So how do you develop genuine leadership? Start by mastering yourself. Get disciplined. Set goals and follow through with them. Make decisions and own them. Stop looking to others for validation. A man who can lead himself will naturally lead others. And a man who leads with strength and wisdom will always be irresistible to women. But leadership isn't just about personal achievement, it's also about the impact you have on others. A true leader inspires those around him, encouraging them to be better versions of themselves. He offers guidance without arrogance, support without weakness. He is someone others can rely on, not because he demands it, but because he earns it through his integrity and consistency. Leadership is also about emotional intelligence. A great leader knows how to handle conflicts with grace, how to navigate difficult conversations without losing composure, and how to offer reassurance when needed. Women are deeply attracted to men who remain steady under pressure, who don't let emotions dictate their actions, and who approach challenges with a calm, strategic mind. Furthermore, true leaders never stop learning. They are always growing, always evolving. They seek wisdom, read, listen, and refine their skills. They understand that stagnation is the enemy of progress, and they push themselves to new heights. This constant evolution makes them incredibly attractive because they are always bringing something fresh and exciting to the table. In the end, genuine leadership is not about control, it's about influence. It's about being the kind of man who naturally commands respect and admiration through his actions, his mindset, and his unwavering commitment to his principles. Women don't want to be led by force, they want to follow a man who is worth following. Be that man, and you will never struggle with attraction again. These 7 traits separate the men women want from the men they tolerate. Confidence, emotional control, purpose, high standards, the ability to walk away, mystery, and leadership. Master these, and you'll become the kind of man who doesn't chase, but attracts effortlessly. Which of these traits do you already have? Which do you need to work on? Drop a comment below, hit like, subscribe, and share your story. Because the men who understand this will always have the upper hand.